So good noon everyone, we are the Group 4 reporters and today we're excited to share another lesson with you. So this lesson is meaningful and designed to provide valuable learning experiences for everyone. Before we proceed to our formal discussion, I have a question first. So here is my question, can you listen everyone? So why is there a need for teachers to assess not just the students' knowledge and skills, but also their values, attitudes, and behavior? Yes, Alan?
It is imperative to assess as well the values and the attitude of the learner because true intelligence is not only measured by how as well as your character as a person because that is very important, especially in a real life scenario.
So academic assessment plays a major role in evaluating the students' learning across the cognitive, psychomotor, and the affective domain. While knowledge and skills are very important, learning will not be complete without the development of values, attitudes, and positive behaviors. So this is why understanding the affective domain and the different affective targets are very crucial in evaluating the students in meaningful and real-life context. And that leads to our lesson for today. It's all about the authentic assessment of the affective domain. But before that, let me present to you first our learning objectives that we need to achieve at the end of the lesson. So can you read, everyone?
Identify the different affective targets and authentic affective targets. Appreciate the importance of assessing learners' values, attitudes, and dispositions through authentic assessment practices. The authentic assessment of the affective domain.
So what do we mean by the affective domain? Can you read, everyone?
The affective domain is authentic assessment measures the student's growth in feelings, attitudes, values, and emotions rather than just cognitive knowledge.
Okay, so the affective domain focuses on the students' feelings, attitudes, values, and emotional responses to learning. So it examines how students show interest, motivation, and behavior in real-life learning experiences. So it also helps the teachers to fully understand how students feel and how their feelings affect their participation. So this is why affective domain is very important because it supports responsible behavior and lifelong learning. So it provides meaningful information rather than using traditional test types because the main focus for this is the actual behavior of the student.
It evaluates how students emotionally respond to and interact with learning, often assessed through real-world scenarios, self-reports, observations, and portfolios, focusing on motivation and behavior.
Okay, so authentic assessment uses observations, reflections, and performance tasks in real-life learning situations or context in order to evaluate these affective aspects. And now let's proceed to the taxonomy. Taxonomy of the educational objectives. We have here the Bloom's taxonomy, the affective domain, which is the emotion base. So the taxonomy in the affective domain contains a large number of objectives in the literature expressed as interest, appreciation, feelings, emotions, and emotional sets or biases according to Krathwohl in the year 1964. So the descriptions of each step and its examples are as follows. So the first one, we have here the receiving. Can you read the definition?
There are sensitive to the existence of certain ideas, material.
It refers to the learner's willingness to be aware of or to pay attention to new ideas and experiences. So students show curiosity about a certain topic. And at this level, students show openness and readiness to listen. Here are the examples: to differentiate, to accept, to listen, and to respond to. So now let's proceed to the next responding. So it's being committed in some small measure to the ideas, materials, and or phenomena involved by actively responding to them. So responding happens when the students actively participate in learning activities. So in here, they show involvement and active engagement in learning tasks, and they so responding examples to comply with, to follow, to comment, to volunteer, to spend leisure time in, and to acting. So next we have valuing. Can you read the definition, everyone?
Is willing to be perceived by others as attaching importance to certain ideas, materials, or phenomena.
Okay, so in here, valuing occurs when the learners recognize the importance or the value of what they are learning. So they demonstrate commitment to certain values and ideas. And they show preferences for certain values. So we have with examples: to increase national proficiency in, to relinquish, to subsidize, to support, and to redeem. Next one, organizing. Can you read the definition, everyone?
Is relating to value to those already held and bring it into our
Involves integrating new values and ideas into existing ones and to form a consistent value system. So they compare and prioritize their values to guide their actions. And examples include to discuss, to theorize, to formulate, to balance, and to examine. So those are the taxonomy of the educational objectives. That's one, or in the upper part. On the upper part, we have the characteristic. Can you read the definition, everyone?
Is to act consistently to accordance with values.
has internalized.
Okay, so at this level, the values are to be internalized and consistently influences individual. So learners act according to these values in various learning situations, and students can attempt to build abstract knowledge or concepts. And again, those are the taxonomy of the educational objectives, focusing on the affective domain or the emotion. Affective targets. So we have here 10 affective targets, and these are the specific areas that focuses on the students' emotions, feelings, and dispositions that teachers take to assess. So this ensures or this supports holistic and meaningful learning outcomes. So the first one, you read the definition, Georgie.
As a mental predisposition to act that is expressed by evaluating a particular entity with some degree of favor or disfavor.
So generally, each of us have different or own types of attitude. So it covers a learner's tendency to positively or negatively respond to a situation or a subject. So attitudes influences how learners engage in the learning process. So we have here the four components of attitude. We have the cognition, affective, behavioral intention, and the evaluation. So for the first one, we have here the cognition. Can you read the definition?
These are the beliefs, theories, and cause and effect of beliefs and perceptions.
So cognition has nothing to do with feelings because it is a statement of beliefs. It is a statement of beliefs that can change from one person to another or from one situation to another. So cognition refers to the beliefs and ideas that a learner holds about the subject, and these beliefs may differ across individuals and situations. So for the next, we have the affective. Can you read the definition? Is a
Fear, flight, and anger.
But the affective aspect or component refers to the feelings and emotions of the students that is associated with an attitude. And these emotions influences the learner's interest and reactions. So the positive emotions refers to the increase of motivation or active engagement, while negative emotions may lead to avoidance or lack of engagement or motivation. Next, we have the behavioral intention. Can you read the definition, Shane?
Our goals and aspirations, as well as our anticipated reaction to the attitude.
So it reflects the learner's readiness or plan to act based on certain attitudes. It guides how attitudes influences future behavior. And the last, we have the evaluation. Evaluation, it is the degree of goodness or badness towards the attitude. Or negatively, a student judges an attitudes, and it shows the strength of approval or disapproval. And this judgment may affect decision making and behavior. And strong evaluation may lead to consistent action. So, do you have any questions or clarifications, everyone? Okay. If not, let's now proceed to the next type of effective target beyond the attitude. So next we have the interest. Can you read the definition, everyone?
It's the personal preference for certain kinds of activities. It is a powerful motivational process that energizes learning, guides
Academic and career
and is essential to academic success.
Okay. So an interest can be an individual experience that they find more enjoyable and involves lasting feelings. So it is a psychological state of mind which can increase the learner's attention, effort, and excitement towards a specific situation. Next, we have motivation. Can you read the definition, everyone?
It provides information about
So, motivation is already understandable, right?
yeah.
So here the one classroom tips to motivate students for assessment success. So can you read the first bullet?
Create student-centered classroom assessments.
Okay, so for many students who struggle with motivation, giving them more ownership and the opportunity to offer their own opinions can be helpful. So take advantage of this fact and work to make your assessment more student-driven. Next, we have, can you read the next one?
Tap into intrinsic motivation.
So, tap into intrinsic motivation. So, in here, the interest and motivation go hand in hand. So, when creating your classroom exams, you need to try to make questions as relevant to your students' personal interests as possible. Can you read the next bullet?
Give students a say.
Okay, so it means letting your students to make some decisions about their assessments is a great way to give them more ownership over their learning and reap the motivational benefits that can provide.
Take the time to personalize.
Okay, so taking the time to work individually with students and tailoring elements of your lessons to their needs can go a long way towards increasing their motivation for classroom assessment. And lastly, we have encourage
Students to record their own progress.
Okay, so when students are able to see their progress towards various academic growth, so it can be a significant factor. Okay, so now let's proceed to the fourth type of effective targets, which is the value. So can you read the definition?
It is defined as a principle, standard, or quality considered inherently worthwhile or desirable. Values are what motivate and fulfill you.
Okay, so individuals, groups, and whole societies hold values. So it refers to the principles and the beliefs that guide our actions and our decisions throughout our life. So it shapes what students see in their learning. And being knowledgeable is useless without values because knowledge alone lacks the moral guide to use it wisely. So values like honesty, kindness, integrity, and justice ensure it helps people and creates good, not harm. So do you have any questions or clarifications?
None.
And now let's proceed to the next type of affective target. And at this point, I will give the floor to the next presenter to discuss the next affective target.
Proceed to the fifth affective domain, which is self-concept. So, self-concept is usually called as mental image of you as a person, as our internal interpretations of our actions, skills, and specific characteristics. So, self-concept is your core mental blueprint of who you are. So, your traits, your roles, your abilities, values, and worth, shaped by experiences, feedback, and so a positive aligned self-concept fuels confidence, resilience, and growth, while distortions breed anxiety and self-doubt. Nurture it deliberately for a thriving life. So that's self-concept. Affective domain, which is locus of control. So it is an individual's perception of the underlying causes of events in his or her life. So in the field of education, this views the causes of their academic performance or school failure. So when we say locus of control, it is all about what you believe is causing the things that happens in your life. So in the field of education, students believe their academic performance due to their own effort and external factors but beyond their control. So we have here the two types of locus of control. We have the internal and the external. When we say internal, so it means you believe on your own efforts leads you to success. So students with these abilities generally think that their hard work and dedication in their studies are the key factors determining their academic achievements or failures. So it is all about taking responsibility of your outcomes. For the external locus of control, it is believing that life events like success or failure. So these are the most controlled by outside forces such as luck, fate, and people than the other people rather than your own actions. So, for example, a student with an internal locus of control might blame poor grades on their failure to study, whereas students with an external locus of control may blame an unfair teaching or test for their poor performance. So that's for internal and external locus of control. So the seventh affective domain is which is the self-efficacy. So, can you read? I read.
Self-efficacy, it is a person's particular set of beliefs that determines how well one can execute a plan, action, situation.
Okay, so thank you so much. So, basically, self-efficacy is all about belief in your own ability to succeed. So, this is the inner confidence that helps you to take action and stick to your plans, even when the things get tough. Sources of self-efficacy, which is these are mastery experiences, the vicarious experiences, or social role models. social persuasion, emotional and physiological states. So when we say mastery experiences, it refers to the experiences of a person gains with when they successfully overcome the new challenges or tasks in their life. So this prove to yourself that you are capable, and which boosts your self-efficacy. So next we have the vicarious experiences or the social role models. So it involves by observing others successfully completing their tasks. So seeing someone similar to yourself that succeed can significantly boost your belief to boost po yung self-confidence. So, mo siya giingon, kung kaya niya, kaya sa mo. Kung kaya na ako, kaya sa mo. So, next, we have the social persuasion. So, it is all about the power of positive encouragement. So, especially the genuine praise or support from the stranger or from the other people can boost your self-confidence, and it makes you feel that you can conquer anything. So lastly, we have the emotional and physiological states. So it refers to how your overall well-being impacts your self-belief. So if you're feeling good on physical and mental self, then you are more likely to feel confident in your abilities. But if you're stressed, you are drained, you're tired, you're anxious, of course, what will happen? It will affect your self-efficacy. Again, what are the four sources of self-efficacy?
Mastery experiences, vicarious experiences, social, emotional, and
States. Okay, thank you so much. For the last three effective domain, I will give the floor to Ms. Michelle.
So number 8, anxiety. It is directly related to feelings of uneasiness, frustration, self-doubt, fear, or worry. So anxiety, it is a feeling of apprehension. So apprehension means it is a feeling of anxiety or a fear that something bad will happen. So how anxiety affects students' learning and performance in school? Kindly read the first bullet, Alice.
Experiencing anxiety can negatively impact your ability to learn and enjoy your time.
So it means that when the students experience anxiety, it is hard for them to stay focused and stay engaged in the school activities. And the second bullet is the effect of anxiety on academic performance is not always obvious. Just like, for example, a student with test anxiety might study for hours and get high marks, but secretly struggling with sleepless nights. So these effects that are not obvious from their grades. So the third bullet, teachers and staff need training to be able to properly handle this unexpected occurrences. So as a teacher, you need to require knowledge to identify, to observe, to support, and help our students who struggle with anxiety. So number 9.
creativity.
Kindly read this
Creativity. Grateful. The painter who was at point described referring to creativity, understood creativity.
So it means creativity encompasses various aspects, innovative thinking and artistic expression. Just like, for example, chef experimenting with unusual ingredients to create a new dish. So the new and useful ideas. So an example for this is a parent who uses old cereal boxes to create or make a durable, colorful storage for their kids' toy. It shows creativity by thinking new and useful ways to reuse everyday items. The third bullet is to look at the problem in a new way and find an original and workable solution. So means thinking a few problems differently and coming up with unique solutions that actually works in real life. So the last bullet, use one's mind in a productive way to generate and apply new ideas. So creativity involves imagining and implementing new thoughts. Just like, for example, a group activity. So as a group, we need to collaborate toward replace, share ideas or brainstorming ideas for our school project, and then develop the best one or choose the best one. So characteristic of the creative personality. The first bullet is creative individuals have a great idea, feel on energy, but they are also kind like express. So just like, for example, a painter might spend all day intensely making on or working on canvas, then take a break and go to silent walks in park each evening to let their mind rest or relax and to find new inspiration to come to them. So the second bullet, creative individuals alternate between imagination and fantasy as one and unrooted sense of reality of the other. So just like, for example, a game designer first she imagines a magical world where the characters can fly and talk to animals, and then adjust those ideas to fit the limits of technology and gameplay to make a fun or playable game. So the third bullet, most creative persons are very passionate about their work, yet they can be extremely objective about it as well. So creative, but they can also step back to look at it critically, spot flaws, and make changes without letting their feelings get in. So number 10, epistemological beliefs. According to number 10, epistemological beliefs. According to Bax, Van Beer, Sanden, Braun, and Berger 2006, epistemology explores the beliefs we hold about knowledge, what knowledge is, how knowledge is constructed, and what constitutes knowledge. So epistemology is the study of knowledge itself. So its nature, origin, and scope. So an example for this is, we believe that knowledge is primarily gained through personal experience rather than textbooks. So I will give the floor to Ms. Bustamante for the conclusion.
So, yes. The first one,
Interest,
Motivation, values, self-confidence, focus and control, self-efficacy, anxiety, creativity,
and for the conclusion, can we read everyone?
assessment of effective domain is essential both teacher and student because it helps teacher understand learning attitude, values, motivation, and emotional development beyond academic knowledge. It allows teacher to guide instruction effectively while encouraging students to develop self-awareness, reflection, and motivation through real-life task experiences.
So it strengthens the student-teacher relationship by promoting empathy, trust, and meaningful feedback. So it helps the students to apply these positive values and behaviors in real life contexts or situations that can lead to improved behavior and lifelong learning skills. And lastly, allow us to leave a quote saying,
The goal of education is to develop
so Herbert Spencer's quote means that the true purpose of school is to shape a student's morals and behavior rather than just teaching them with the facts. So it focuses on building essential values and positive attitudes and behaviors that guides our actions throughout our lives. So that ends our presentation. Thank you for